All right, welcome back, everybody. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're both on the Twitch and on the YouTubes. Randy, how are you today, my friend?
Good. How you doing?
I am exhausted. I've had 4 hours of sleep. Woke up about 7. Realized about 8 that the internet was down. I spent about an hour and a half trying to get it going. Ended up calling a tech, but surprisingly, tech was out here by 11. Actually, early. He was here about 10:30, and by about 11:30, it looked like we were up and running. And so I was like,
Yeah, that's
"Wow,
crazy. You'd think they'd be getting more calls than normal now that
oh yeah." This was this
everybody's
guy's
at home.
yeah. This was this guy's first call of the day, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Carrie thought that she would have to actually go into the business place. And it was like, it was kind of like that. Well, I need to know in about 15 minutes sort of scenario. If I got to be traveling or so, but yeah, looks good. And actually, the gentleman, he was like, oh yeah, you got some outdated equipment here too. He says, I think it's throttling your bandwidth. So he's like, you're up now, but let me go out there and tweak that. So I had the fastest download speed I've had, I think, from this so far. So I was,
Nice.
yeah, so that was positive, and it forced me to clean out a little bit of the office. So the guy could even get to where he needed to do what he needed to do. All right. With that being said, however, I am a bit frazzled, trying to figure out where we're at. So I think we're good here. We're good here. We're good there. So just remind everybody who's checking us out, especially on the YouTubes, but even on the Twitch, because yeah, there's no music playing on this, so this one can actually be viewed. On the ones we play music, I think your replays get muted, so they're basically worthless.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, because of
Twitch or
that's
YouTube?
Twitch. On YouTube, I can't do anything. But with music, with intellectual property music, as they say, I think that's how they say that, right? No, do your own fact finding. However, let that be what it is. But yeah, so anybody, if you haven't followed us yet, please consider following us. You say, why would I do that with this intro? And it's like, because when we fail intros, it makes you feel better about yourself, right? You're like, hey man, if these guys can just
for the win.
Yeah, Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude for the win. Hashtag Schadenfreude. Yes. So, all right. With that being said, so the last few days, Randy, I've been working on trying to do all of our photo editing. So, we shot about 400 or 500 pictures. We whittled it down to about 250. We took those and then auto adjust them. Tried to figure out how to do batch adjustments within Adobe, and I did.
Hold on a second. Your sound kind of light to me.
Yeah.
Where's your microphone that you're using?
I'm using, let me see here. So for Discord, it may be pulling my other microphone. That's why I was wondering. I bet you that's probably what the problem is. Let me,
because it sounds like it's probably pulling from
the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the stream is actually pulling from, so it probably sounds okay on the stream, just not okay on Discord. So let me check, see if I can swap that real quick. Settings.
It sounds kind of muted, like it would be far away. So I'm guessing it's the other mic.
All right, here you go. I'm going to drop some magic on you right now. How's that, baby?
That's better.
Yeah. There you go. Much better?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I was seeing lines and, but that, yeah. So I was confirming I was getting
I think
noise, but it's just because that microphone still picks it up and it didn't register. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was just in the Discord. I think the stream sounded fine.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Because I actually have the other mic muted right now. So and that's what I was thinking. Is like, why have that mic muted? But I only have it muted in Streamlabs. I don't have it muted in Discord. So and that's why today's we'll go ahead and have our titular moment. You know how much I love titular moments. And whereas it's mind mush, because that's kind of what we're working with right now. Lack of sleep, and you know what you want to do when you've had 4 hours of sleep? Troubleshoot internet issues. That's what you want to start up. And I'm like, and I was up at 7, and I was like, by 8, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go down and start working. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I was like, well, could I? No. Can I update? No. Could I? No. I was like, you know what? I'm just laying down. But so back to that. So we were doing our photo editing. That's what we've been working on here for a while. And you can see here, let me, I'll do some camera adjustments, but if we look at our corner cam here, not that corner cam, we've got our D&D session, which we're hoping to be able to finish up tomorrow. So it's been occupying the desk space. So we're not doing any crafting until we can get this cleared out after tomorrow night. But let me give you a little top down love. See if we can get a picture.
So in the scene there,
yeah,
in the lower right hand corner, you've got the blue face on the yellow disc. Is that blue a solid piece, or is that? It looks like it maybe like you sculpted it out of
that was
blue tack.
I'm not sure if which one it was. I'm not sure if it was Austin or Chris, but I know that it's the handiwork of one of those fine gentlemen. I'll try to put some light on it here. And let me let's do just the corner cam here.
Oh, you got really quiet on
I'm
on the screen.
On the stream? Oh yeah, because I'm sorry, I'm away from the microphone. So that's a little intense. Ooh.
Oh yeah, that's too shiny to be blue tack. So it's a crafted. It's a sculpted piece.
No, it's blue tack.
Hard piece.
It's blue tack.
Oh, it is blue tack.
Wow,
it looks so shiny.
Yeah.
Okay, it's overexposed.
Exposed, and it's not focused on. See if I can...
Cool.
Yeah, they did a really nice job. And I was like, was there? It was 4 months since we played. It's like, was there a purpose for this, or was this was just ornamentation, right? I don't think this had anything to do with the storyline, right? Like, no, it's just goofing. It's like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, so we've got our board set up and ready to go. I think we're very close to being able to finish that out. So while we've got that going, let me see if I can do our 150. Go ahead and plug it. Let it sit for a second. So we've been working on our photos. We had done the Photoshop, and man, it's just a lot of work to edit that many photos. And that's what I was starting to say before you pointed out that the Discord audio was low, Randy. Was I had a moment of weakness where I was cussing out Adobe on stream. It's like, F you, Adobe! No, really! I'm serious. F you! Because they have this program. Everything now is cloud.
I have never done that.
Yeah.
How could you?
I know.
How could anybody ever?
Yes, I know. I'm weak. It's the spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak. I read that in a book somewhere. They have, everything's cloud based now, right? So, and subscription based, which I get. It's like, they don't want to keep supporting old software and blah 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 blah. Which I want to talk about the pros and cons of that. I think, because one of the things is I think they're not motivated to innovate because of that. But anyways, I digress. So they have this Lightroom. Well, so I'm like, okay, well, how can I do a slideshow random batch thing here and the new one. Well, you look online and it's hard to tell because they're both named the same thing. So how do you tell the new one from the old one? And you can't just say the cloud version because there's a classic that they also allow you to access. So you have Lightroom and you have Lightroom Classic, and they're both Creative Cloud, so they're both CC. So it's really hard to Google through it, right? And they so it was like, best I could tell, I couldn't do what I was trying to do in Lightroom, so I had to pull up Lightroom Classic, and still was like trying to figure out some of this stuff. And it's just, I'm just so frustrated. It's like, you have to include Lightroom Classic because there's features that you don't include in the new version, and you have to use the old version. It's like, and I'm just, after like getting a slideshow to work has just been so challenging, right? And so I was trying, it appears that like some of the programs that we were sharing,
So weird anyway. You would think that would be so easy.
yes, just out of the box, like done and done.
Yeah,
But we
totally.
we had tried to use it through Streamlabs, and then was like, well, let me just get away from that. After we tried, and all I could get it to do was 3 or 4, and I suspected maybe I have a slideshow running somewhere that I can't see that's maybe hogging the bandwidth, because when you try to troubleshoot it, saying if it's over 250 megabytes, it's a problem. It's like, so I'm like, well, let me just get away from Streamlabs is slideshow, and let's try to do it a different way. It's like, I'll just use Windows Explorer slideshow, right? And I'll just share it. And I was like, well, it's just showing as a blank screen, and all you can see is my cursor, like, ghosting across, leaving a trail. And I'm like, all right. So started to troubleshoot some of those issues, and it seems that that the streaming software doesn't like things sometimes if they're using hardware acceleration. So you have to go in and see if you could turn hardware acceleration off stuff. Well, you can't do that through Windows Explorer, but I was also trying to use Lightroom or Lightroom Classic. And it was like I could get it to show the screen where I'm editing, but whenever I tried to do the stream, it would just black it out, or do the slideshow, it would just, black it out. And I was like, ah. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just share the monitor, and still having problems. And then it was like, well, now when I could do it, but it was now acting as a screensaver, so you couldn't work simultaneously and have the slideshow. So like, ugh. So yeah, there was a point where I definitely had terse words and curse words for the Adobe people. But however, identify, adapt, and overcome. Modify. A saying from the Marines, I think theirs is innovate, adapt, and overcome. But I prefer to think of identify, adapt, and overcome, and try it a different way. And eventually, what we had done was because then it's like, okay, well, I want to do a slideshow, but I have first go around was like 250 pics. I'm like, I don't necessarily want to make somebody watch through 12 variations of the same thing. I want to random it. That's easy, right? Random slideshow. That should be, yeah, of course, or no, not as easy as you would think. So, but and it was like, so I ended up, TLDR, that shortened the amount of photos that we have. So we got about 100 of them, and I was able to do a random thing of them, and then was able to export that as a video. I tried to use a third-party software, and the video looked something like, let's see if I can show you this. Where did I see the slideshows? That's the one that's good. I think it was, well, there was one, and it was just wonky. It just was like black screen with like, it looks kind of like the M50 looks like. And but we were able
when
to,
it's not working.
yeah, it's like one of the times, yeah, it's like that. And but I was able to do this, and let's see if I can.
Where it's just like lines with distorted colors or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like, it looked like you were getting assimilated to the Matrix or something. So here, if we share this here, you can see, let me actually do this. So we now have this. Hopefully this will work. waiting for the stream to...
While you're setting it up, let me do an audio test on myself real quick here.
Yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, cool. Ooh, was
Oh, sorry. That
you sound better now.
it said it ended the call. I don't know why. Yeah, it was the headpiece, the earpiece I was using.
Yeah, your
It was
quality.
an old, just single ear call piece for my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it is lower quality. It's only about 15 years old.
I don't know why that would be.
All right. So that should be better, hopefully.
Yeah, it actually does sound better. I mean, it was workable before, but yeah, that's definitely a nicer, a deeper, fuller tone.
Cool.
So can you see, I'm sharing the monitor, and so this is a video file that we have now of some lower res resized images. So with that, because actually our
That's nice.
yeah, the originals were like 4 meg files, and these are about a 1/4 meg, and they still look pretty decent. Because I'm using them for the website, right? So I don't need them to be, very big, because they're not going to be this large. So with that, I have now been able to add to. This is now a video file that I can turn on. That will now we can easily add to any of our screens a slideshow of the last, I think it's about 20 different things, 20 minis, which kind of surprised me, but yeah, that's what it ended up being, because we had like the 2 beholders, we had the Dalek, we had the Modoc, we had about 12 of the Zealot minis, and yeah, it ended up being like 20 items. So that is a success. So that was yesterday. Finally got that going. So yay for that. And then also we actually have updated, and shameless plug incoming, but we have let's see here. If we go here. Yesterday I was talking to Tater about I got stuck watching these Scientology documentaries, and there's a movie called The Master, which I guess is actually loosely based on L. Ron Hubbard. And here's a picture of Philip Seymour Hoffman in that role as the Master, with a picture who I'd never noticed this before until one of these documentaries, and it had L. Ron there, who looks like a man that I would wholeheartedly trust instinctually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't set off my spidey sense whatsoever. No tingles from the Peters. But all right, so if we were to go to thequasishop.com, and if you go to catalog and sort by, and I'm trying to figure out if I can do this by default. I was struggling with figuring it out yesterday through Shopify, but you do date new to old, and here you go. Check them out. We got zombie, we got wizard, we got winged demons, we got undead dwarf, we got lich lord, we got reaper, orc, mummy, we got our dark knight, we got our Modoc, we got our goblin, we got our elf, we got our dwarf, we got our dragon, we got our revolving Dalek, we got our cyclops, we had our Cthulhu, our barbarian, and then the 2 beholders. I'm keeping one of them for myself because it's missing a tentacle, so that's going to be one I think I'm going to keep just for myself. But we have these up here, and I do have these priced to move. These are
So they're only 9 tickles instead of 10 tickles?
Yes. I'm sure I probably did. I probably messed it up when I gave it a testicle, to see if it was working. you never know if your tickling's working unless you do a test. But you can see here, Randy, these things are I think are very fairly priced. They're but 20, the lowest I think, Undead Dwarf here for 20, and I think the highest one that we have here is probably our Cthulhu at 65. And that's just because
Nice.
the amount of time that it took. I still want to go in here and make sure that the shot that I have here, because I just dump photos, but you can select which one you want to be the primary photo, which is a little larger. So I need to go through and do that. But one of the things too, I think if you go in,
the Cthulhu is a sizable figure as well.
yeah, it is, and that's the other
That's
thing.
why you need to
do scale stuff. So, yeah,
yeah.
I don't have that, and I did. I still need to do it on this one, but I did on. Let me see here.
I think it would be nice if you had a little the Q logo on the corner of your pictures or something.
That is not a bad idea. Yeah, because then if somebody shares them, and now I'm learning a little bit about batch processing, so maybe I can do that a little easier now. But like if you look at the Modoc here, I even included a shot here of of what he looked like to begin with versus how we made him look. A little bit different.
Just a touch.
Yeah. I guess these were from Playmation, where they were these smart figures that you put on a base or something. Like I said, I picked this guy up at the $5 store, but I started looking at some of the other ones, and actually I have one. I have a Vision that's done in the same style, and they had like a Hulk Buster, and I was like, I'm gonna keep my eye open because they were great sculpts, and they painted up well. So I definitely want to do some more of these, and I think some more of the pop vinyl. On the pop vinyl, I have a Deadpool Gandalf that I showed you, and I have Agra from Dark Crystal as well that might get potentially painted up. But
Nice.
so if we do this, oh wow! So you can also here, Randy. I've been adding tags to these things, so if you wanted to, you can search through here. So if you look at Zealot miniatures, then it would actually pull up all the Zealots minis. Or if you looked at repainted, he's repainted. Pathfinder. Oh, looks like I need to still do some more work. Nolzers. Yeah, so here's two of the Nolzers miniatures. So I'm just learning how to do that. But anybody who's watching and would like to support a budding artist during the zombie apocalypse, it would be most appreciated. And then the thing is too, is like you have to add all this stuff, and it's not like it's a set of refrigerators that I'm selling here where, if somebody buys one, then there's going to be another refrigerator to buy. It's like these are pretty much one and done, right? So there's only so much time that you want to spend on something, especially if you're trying to make them affordably priced, which is one of the reasons why we did all of these photos at once, is to try to get some economies of scale. But I did try to include one extra, a little fun tagline. So with this one, I said, whilst working on this, it kept screaming, extra paint, extra paint. Let's see what else we had here. If we looked at our...
I think I had a dream the other day about you and a Dalek, and I can't remember, we were talking about it.
Are we allowed to talk about this in mixed company?
Yes, this one, yeah.
So, and then with this one, let me see. If
also, did you tell me that you'd gotten like a what is it? Like a
sexually aroused by robots?
Like an Amazon show or whatever, Alexa show, whatever it is.
A what? Oh yeah. I
Alexa,
did.
stop.
Yeah,
you
yes,
did.
I did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure.
I think. Hold on, I'll show it to you real quick. If I do the corner cam here. Corner. Let me pull up here. See chat, so just in case. All right. So if we do the corner cam, you can see just quickly. I have it set to where it's supposed to do artwork. I'll try to do this.
Supposed to do what?
It's supposed to show artwork.
Oh, I gotcha. Did you get it for a particular reason, or just
Yeah.
because?
Yeah, because I got two of them. One for upstairs and one.
Oh, that's right. You
downstairs,
said
we
like
could do,
interview
a
thing.
video. Yeah, yeah. So it's hard for you to tell.
For
there.
interview. So,
And 50 might
Intercom.
give it a better shot here. But yeah, so it's a video intercom that way. Especially if I got the door closed and Carrie's trying to, reach me, she can.
it's got to buzz into the office, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
Buzz into the studio.
Yeah, because I started looking at intercom systems, and it was like, for the cost of it, if you found these on sale, especially this is like 8-inch ones, but the 5-inch ones are pretty affordable if you find them on sale. You can probably get those for maybe under $50 a piece. And it was just like, if you're going to get an intercom system that was worth something, that would cut through a basement, And I was just like, I think I'd rather just, be using it. Although they probably all use internet now anyway. But let me see if we can 1050. Yeah, I think I just need to refresh it. It wants a little love. Give me a memento.
The M50?
Yeah, I know it's hard for you to imagine. It is definitely cooperating much better. Okay, but it still is cranky pants. It doesn't like it when you, if you jiggle that HDMI cord, which, hey, I wouldn't like it if I had an HDMI cord. I wouldn't want people jiggling it, without consent.
Well, I'm on the fence.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. The heart wants what it wants. Look at that. All right, so if we do that, try to, yeah, here we go. You see it there, Randy?
Yeah.
And so it'll random artwork, which is kind of cool. But like Carrie has the one upstairs and it does photos, so she has like pictures from her Colorado trip, and it's cool too because when it does those photos, it automatically like if it's a portrait, so it doesn't take up the whole screen, it does that thing where it blurs it on the side and uses some of the same colors to kind of make it feel more expansive. But yeah, so Alexa or computer, tell me a ninja joke.
What do you get when you cross a hippie with a ninja? Peace and quiet.
What'd she say?
So it says, let me turn the volume up on that. What do you get when you cross a hippie with a ninja, Randy? Peace and quiet.
Wow.
What do you get when you cross a hippie with a ginger? Johnny Q. All right. So.
What was the answer?
Johnny Q. Me. Just please. All right. So we got that. Let's go back to. All right. So yeah, was there a reason that you asked about the show in particular? I'm still going to be, I mean, I know I'm easy to distract, but I'm like 12 times more likely to be distracted today.
No, it was just I wasn't sure if it was a dream or not that you discussed it. I think I was at most half awake when you mentioned it to me, so I wasn't sure.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah. So if you look here, we got our Cthulhu, and no, that's not the one I wanted to show. If we look at, the Zealots, the Zealot minis. Let me see here.
This face looks so good in the grass and stuff.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Here's our zombie guy. So his is, he's got a hatchet, and if he gets to your brain, he'll snatch it. Let me see here. So our orc here, we have our orc. Our tagline for him was "Don't call him dork." In the old tongue, it's D apostrophe orc, and the D is silent. Word jokes. Thanks for laughing, Randy. You're a good man.
I know. I had kind of a dream about a Dalek that was going around dispensing hand sanitizer, I think. And so it was like sanitize, or something. I don't remember.
Nice. So we got our
the people that did that with the one that was roaming the streets.
Yeah.
Self quarantine. They
Yeah.
should have one that dispenses hand sanitizer.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm trying to think. There's it's like antibacteriate or something. There's a word there. There's a pun that I am too slow to be able to find today.
Well, we could just be exterminate, but it could be like exterminate the germs or something.
Exterminate the bacteria and help prevent the spreading of disease by. Exterminate. So we got our goblin here. Let me see. Let me if I can take the slideshow down for a second, and there we go.
Daleks hate COVID-19. Do your own fact finding.
That's right. So the tagline for the goblin is "What a cutie, but he'll stab you in the booty." So
I want there to be like a little snake in the grass that he's running from or something in that picture. He's like, ah!
Let me see here. We have our Reaper, and it says, "If you start to fear him, just play more cowbell." That's the song, the cowbell song from the Saturday Night Live skit. You've heard that before. Need more cowbell. Mm-hmm. So, don't fear the Reaper. Just play more cowbell.
Christopher Hawken.
Walken.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christopher Hawken is Stephen Hawking's son. Do your own fact finding. All right. So anyway, so we got those up, and so that's good. So these are all live and available for purchase now at thequasishop.com, where we make that sweet nerd stuff even sweeter. So, so we had that. One of the things I thought on today's program that I could show you here remotely, Randy, as we are working on stuff, was I had actually done a video of, actually, while I'm doing this, let me turn the slideshow back on, and we will make this transform to fit the screen. I had been working on the video for the D&D sessions, which I do want to resume. I got a lot of work to be able to just get it started, but I had actually edited the video and I had done the audio work, and I did about 2 hours of audio work that I didn't record. So I had shelved it for the time being, but I thought I would want to just kind of show you the video and talk you through what I'm thinking. Let me. Oh yes, wrong. Let me. I can't remember where I saved that. What? Suka. I'm getting closer. I can feel it.
Got the tingles.
Uh-huh.
What's up, Tater?
Tater! What's going on, brother? Good to see you. Just trying to keep one eye out open for you. I got so many screens. Alright. I'm gonna find this photo. Deep here. Nope. Dirt. So I've been playing this Divinity Original Sin. Me and on yesterday's stream, me and Tater was talking about it quite a bit, and I'm enjoying it because it's like I'm using this Geo Now software that allows me to play it through like a streaming service. So anything that I own on, not anything I own on Steam, anything I own on Steam that they also support, I can play remotely, and I can use my I got those NVIDIA Shield box with a controller, and it syncs up really nicely to my phone or to my tablet, my Android tablets. And so I can play in bed, some computer games, and especially ones that, I can use a controller. So that one's working well. So I've been really dorking out on it lately. And I just finished chapter 1, and he was saying, yeah, he's like, man, at this point it gets really hard. And he's like, I actually had to look it up online because you don't get discouraged. It just gets really hard. And Taterman, you weren't joking. I've played the first battle because you're on the ship, right? And you have to fight all these nasties on the ship. And I think last night I played it 2.5 times, and I haven't even come close to figuring out how to beat it. I was like, man, that was a step up in difficulty. But I'm welcoming the challenge. But good golly, yeah, that's hard. Because it's like most of the time, you're fighting. You've got four characters in your party. You're fighting 1 to 6 villains. Usually one of them's a baddie, and then okay, cool. It gets better once you start leveling up. Yeah, because there's not really any opportunities on the ship. And they even tell you, she's like, oh yeah, we're not going to win this battle. I just need you to buy time. So I don't know how much time she needs, but she needs way more time. What she needs to be is not I'm trying to work on a better word choice than the words that are popping in my head, but totally decimated by a gang of people surrounding her. It's like, the thing is too is a lot of times like there's paths, right? So you could block paths or something like this. Well, no, they're dogs that jump and ghosts that can disappear. So I'm finding it really hard to come up with some strategies. I had one that was working well where there was like a root spell. It was an AOE root spell. So right off the bat, I could root like a couple of them, but then they just started breaking that, and it was just like, oh, okay, well, what's that? Divinity Original Sin, that one that we started to play that one time you were over here.
Gotcha.
On the PlayStation, and then there's a spot up on the mast. So it's like, well, maybe if I take her and I can throw her up there, it'll take a while for them to get up there, but they all can like teleport and stuff. I was like, all right, I gotta figure it out. But it is neat because it's like, all right, now once it's like they're all trying to pretty much just gang up on her because that's the fail condition. She dies, it's over, and it's like, okay, so I gotta figure that out because I'm used to it. You being the primary target. And so you're armoring yourself up and protecting yourself and healing yourself, but now you gotta take care of this jackass. But all right, let me see here. I'm gonna continue to find videos, Rollbox, capture, Logitech. Apologies for this. Brittany, what game are you currently working on? Did you finish all the stuff for Spidey?
No, I haven't been playing it the last couple weeks or so.
You're
Just
pretty
been
far
watching YouTube
through it.
videos and stuff.
Did you finish the storyline from the? But you're just working on the
I think I just started the third DLC.
Yeah, Tater says it's funny because coming out of Fort Joy, you feel like a badass and nothing can stop you, and then you hit that big fight on the ship, and once you get past that in the new area, you're hit with harder enemies, and then you feel, well, maybe that's exactly right. That is exactly what I want. Because I'm like, because like I remember going back into Fort Joy, and it was like all the guards were like, just like really, really, guys, you want some of this? All right, let's see. You brought me here against my will. I feel no qualms about killing any of you, so bring it. And it's like you're just doing cleanup on the island. And it's like, yeah, I got this. And then even the fight before that, it was just like, I might lose this fight. and I didn't just walk in. I was even being sneaky because I figured it was going to be a pretty hard fight. And because you can actually separate your party, and usually they just will auto follow. But it's like I separated my party, and I had my archer go up one way and sneak up top, so they had advantage because height advantage for range gives you automatic better damage and range. And it was like so yeah, it's really, but you can they have a thing, especially if you in the definitive edition, if you turn it on, you can get a magic mirror in the ship, and it allows you to respec for free. So now it's just like, I think I might need to respec. Consider this again. But even then, it's like, with this, what's neat about it is like the way that you learn skills is you have to find the book to learn the spell. So you have to have the skill of that type of magic, the appropriate level for it, and then find the book for it, either through a merchant or through, looting. And so it's like, it can't be, it isn't just like, well, you're a necromancer, so you have this spell. Well, you have that spell if you can find that spell. So there's things that's like, I would love to have everybody have teleport, but I only found one teleport spell or one item that has teleport on it. So it's like, well, okay, can't do that. But it's cool. It forces you to think. And also it's like a lot of the quests that they give you, there's multiple options that you can do. So it's pretty cool. Definitely enjoying the game. And even with it being hard, but it's like, man, it is just a steep incline. But looking forward to it. Let me see here. Sorry, video. Cache, delete, Logitech, captured, see archive, master, teaser trim. Alright, like that. Man, I really don't want to. If I pull up the video software, I think it's going to choke the stream, but where do I put it? Oh, I might have it here actually. Another great thing about Divinity is the replayability, and if you ever replay the game, I'd recommend to check out some of the fan-made mods. Oh yeah, they made whole new classes, and they've also changed the physical and magic armor to damage resistance. Oh, okay. So you would think it would make the game easier, but it doesn't. It changes. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see where that, because that's the first thing too, is like if they're on the screen, you can pretty much, you don't have to be close to them. You can just examine them, which is nice. So you can see what their resistance are. So it's like, are these people resistant to fire or water or what? And because right now I tend to have a lot of AoE fire spells, so I like it when things are vulnerable to fire. But like some things, like if you have more than 100%, if you have 100% or more resistance in an element, then you actually heal from that element. So like I have an undead guy and he actually heal spells hurt him, but poison heals him. So, you know, he loves poison. But so if you don't realize that and you're attacking somebody with something, you know, you get into being healing them instead of. Yeah. And then it's like there's a spell that they'll put, I think it's Decay, and if they cast Decay on you, then if you try to heal somebody and you didn't realize they put Decay on it, then you just start killing your own characters. I've done that several times. All right. Decay is, and I'm not sure what you can. Then you can look and try to figure out what spell will take that off. I don't remember what takes off Decay, if anything. Discord. Close it, believe, emboss cube. Not here. Let me see here. This I'll have to check to see if this is going to be too loud. I don't think this is it, Randy. Maybe I like it raw. 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 No, I don't think that was it. Let's see here. And apologies, but this is just unfortunately the way that I think. Video response dormant. It's not renders. I haven't done enough videos to get a consistent way that I'm doing this. Handbrake output. So that's that. For review, that's that. Pictures, it's not in pictures. Is it in videos? And the thing is too, I'm having a problem I think sometimes with multiple drives, and you know you have your video folder, but there's a video folder for your C drive, there's a video folder for your G drive, there's a, you know, and it's like sometimes when you click on one it doesn't seem like it's showing all of them. But I'll go ahead and do what I don't want to do and pull up DaVinci. So with the Spider-Man, did you get through all of the storyline of the expansions, and you're just working on some of the achievement stuff, or is there still more storyline for you to do with those?
I'm thinking I'm like maybe halfway through the
third episode of the
storyline. Yeah.
Because isn't that what there's three extra chapters? I think it is.
Yeah.
Cool. And apologies for you can remove decay, but you'll learn how to do that. No help here. I appreciate that. No spoilers. I got that. I couldn't remember if that was one, because there's another one where that's the other thing is with this battle that's really hard. So what they do is some of the people that you don't like, they cast a spell on you, and it's called like, oh man, you're really screwed now, fire curse. And that's not an actual name, but it's like you're basically a ticking bomb. It's like, oh, in 2 turns you're just going to explode fire. Okay. And I have this bless spell, which I thought was going to be awesome. That doesn't bless anything. It's like it has like, it's a good buff, but it's just like, it doesn't, like, I had these cursed items. It's like, oh, well, I have a bless spell, so I can use the bless spell to remove the curse off the curse items. No. Nope. All fun. Clips. Tavern. All right, if I just search for tavern, then I might be able to find find it. This way. Search for Tavern. Yeah. Yeah, it is a powerful buff, and it uses the source power too. It's like, which you have to find. It's like, where can I even get source points? Because there's normal, all your things are on cooldowns, and they cost a number of action points. So usually you start with 4 action points. So your spell may cost 2, may cost 3. But like the Bless spell, I think costs 2 action points and a source point. But I can only hold 1 source point at a time. So right now, which you must be able to get more at some point, because I already have a spell that I found that requires 2 source points. It's like, God damn. Yeah, because of random stuff. And you can save it too, which is nice. You can always save it. You can save it like at the beginning of a fight. All right, I think I might have found that. Now let's see where... At the time, what did my brain think that it needed to go? It's in the video folder, but it's not in the... I can't find it because it's on the G drive video folder. I go G, I go users, I go John, and now I go video. Now will you let me see it? No. It's not... You lies. These are all lies. Untrue. The Doors, not real. Sorry, it's a quote from the Doors movie. No, I didn't. There was. I've tried not to do some of those. There was other one like I was fighting a witch in a cave. You know, as you do. It's called Thursday, and we beat everybody, but I had ended up having like fire spells or something, or I accidentally walked in stuff after the battle and I killed like 3 of my characters, and I only had 1 resurrect spell. And I know there's the mod that lets you, if you rest, then you can bring all back your resurrected people. And I was like, nah, I think that's probably just a little bit, I'll use that too much. But I don't know. Some of these things, now that I'm seeing how tough it is, some of these things might have to get added. We'll see. All right, if I do this, can I just right click and open this? Yeah, I'm just kind of easing it because some of them you can't undo, right, once you start. So I've just been slowly. The one I really like, I did finally figure out how to turn on the one that if somebody in your party has a certain bartering and haggling skill, when you're talking to the merchant, that's the price that they give everybody that's in the party, which totally makes sense. Because otherwise it's like, well, you have to swap items to that person and then have that person be the one to talk to them. It's just a lot of extra rigmarole that doesn't really add anything. And as a DM, it's like I that's all the stuff that I try to remove from the game. All the busy work that doesn't add anything to the experience. So it's nice that they added that. If I open the folder location, all right, that's not what I need. Let's try this again. That's awesome. So all these mods that are in the definitive edition were originally from the fan base, and the developer added them in the main game because of how popular they were. That's nice. Yeah, I think I was talking about City Skylines the other day, and I think that there's some things that they've done with that as well, because it's like you can do a lot of mods with it, and like one of the things that you definitely want to do is like some of the traffic mods, because you can control things so much better, whereas otherwise it's just all traffic jams. Oh, cool. And that's who's making that? Is the same people who did Divinity is making Baldur's Gate 3? I think you may have mentioned that before. Yeah, that's sweet. Nice. Yeah, that'll be cool. Have you ever seen the Pathfinder Kingmaker? I watched one of the people that I would follow on Twitch, Carnage. I'd seen him play that, and it looked very similar to Divinity Original Sin, but maybe not as churn basey. I think it's not churn based. It's RTS with pause, I think is what they call it, which I'm assuming Baldur's Gate is going to be. If I expand this, can I figure out where? Yes, I can. Okay. Google Drive, D&D, 3D printing. Nope, we don't need that. Here we go. Yeah, that's one where you got to have a dedicated key. Like usually the pause is the space bar, right? So I kind of got used to that back in the day from playing like Age of Empires 2, probably. And yeah, yeah. It's like 7 characters running around, and any one of them can get one shotted, and it was very annoying. It can be a challenge. So maybe they'll have a churn based option. But it did, without playing it, it did look like that's the way that the Kingmaker thing was set up. Open a new window. So this is telling me that on the G drive, oh, you know what? Here's something I tried to do. Me and Shay, we were supposed to have a D&D session, Randy, and we ended up making some glass blown, taking the glass ornaments and you put the crayons in them and you melt them with the heat gun.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and if anybody is prone to seizures, don't watch this, because it will definitely full on activate it. But I had recorded it and had my light show on, and so when you do a time lapse, holy crap! So, and which is really sad, because it's like I got this great overhead shots of us doing this, but it's like I can't watch that, so who else can? And I got all the other video artifacts. I just didn't think about it at the time, but you can actually see where we were 2-manning it, these glass vases, and I had 2 of them, and she got one, and I had one. So let me see if I can.
Can't see it because of the other picture is covering it.
Yeah, let me see here. Maybe towards the. You can see there's here. Can you see? I got paused. Randall.
The slideshow pictures are up and they're covering that.
Got you.
Part of this.
That's what you meant.
Mm-hmm.
Let me. I thought when I was playing the video, there was also something in that video that was partially obscuring. 1 second. Yeah, let me. You can see it there, Randy. You can see about 5% of it, which doesn't show anything that I was talking about, but there. So you can see him here.
There you go.
Yeah, so if you got, and again, if you're prone to seizures, don't watch.
It just feels like I'm in the club.
Boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants. And But yeah, so they ended up coming out pretty cool. Actually, I have one here.
Is that the one you melted your heat gun on?
Yeah, that was the reason that we had to get the new heat gun, because I'm goofy and didn't realize that putting something really hot, something that puts out heat and has a ring of plastic around it, that if you put it right up to something, that heat's going to reflect back on that plastic and just melt it. Because science. Because of science and stuff.
Science.
All right, so here we go. Let's try this, my friend.
I found a new kind of living history or living archaeology documentary series on BBC that I was watching on the YouTubes.
Did it confirm
This
that's
one's about
all aliens? I know that's your
No,
prevalent
this is
theory
about-
on everything. It's always aliens.
Yeah. No, that's the History Channel. This is
The air quote air quote History Channel.
Yeah. It's like Victorian era, and they start out. This one was had celebrities. It's called 24 Hours in the Past, and they take there are like 4 or 5 or no 5 or 6 different kind of British celebrities. I don't think that there were anybody that you would recognize. I didn't recognize any of them.
That's
One
impossible.
of them was apparently
There's only 12 of them, Randy.
a
We've talked about this.
there was an older lady, and she was apparently a retired prime minister, or not prime minister, member of parliament, MP. It was pretty cool.
What's that?
Each episode takes place in a different aspect of Victorian times. So one's like they were working in a dust yard, which is like the city dump kind of, and they had to dig through, sort everything out, and like everything was valuable, and they had to sort like they had to pick the horse poo off of the road, and then pick the dog poo out of the horse poo because they had separate uses. And like occasionally they'd find like buttons which could be sold, or even like a gold ring or something that somebody had accidentally thrown away or something. Or
Somebody accidentally adjusted and accidentally gave the horse.
Or that. Maybe that's it. Maybe they were getting mugged and they were trying to hide it or steal it or something, and they swallowed it and forgot.
They found condoms full of cocaine in the horse poo. That's what killed Old Dirty Bastard. That's true. True story.
Well,
I think.
that's great.
Do your own fact finding, but yeah, I think ODB from Wu-Tang, I think he actually died from drug muling. Go ahead, you can continue.
Nice.
I'll look this up while you're.
One of the episodes, they were working at a carriage house, which I believe was called a carriage house. It was like an inn, and it was the convenience station of the day where they had horses. It was horse-drawn carriages. That was the fastest mode of transportation at the time. And typically it was 2 horses that would drive the carriage. And they said the fastest people, I think they were called the person who dealt with the horses, the people who dealt with the horses in this carriage house, were called ostlers. And the fastest ostlers at that time could switch the horse team out with fresh horses in like 2 minutes. Which is crazy. But apparently, from like London to Edinburgh would be like a 2-day trip, and they would switch horses like 27 times.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now,
that is totally. I would never have thought that a 2-day trip and they switch horses 27 times. What? That's crazy.
That doesn't make any sense. So that mean if you were going a 2-day trip, 48 hours, you're swapping them every 2 hours if you didn't stop. If you did stop, you would only be running the horses like 30 minutes at a time. Like if you slept.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Aliens.
It is way more than I would have thought.
All
But it's cool. I love that stuff. They go in. It's so cool seeing them actually live out that aspect of past life, and they go to like each different person's job that they would have had and how that would have interacted with the others and stuff back in that day. They have diaries of people who actually lived during that time that recorded their kind of daily activities and experiences, so that they can harken back to that and use that as a guide a bit. It's really cool.
I cannot confirm that ODB died drug muling. He died in Riz's studio, so I don't know why he would have been drug muling that. But I thought I'd heard that, but I don't see that on Wikipedia or elsewhere. So it may have been something I'd heard. But he did. He died from a lethal mixture of cocaine and tramadol, and it was ruled accidental.
What the hell's tramadol?
It's a pain. It says it's a pain prescribed prescription drug sold under the brand name Ultram, among others. It's opioid pain medication.
Conzip is another brand name of it.
Huh.
That's what they take in prison. The cons take it and it makes them zippy.
All right. So
Can treat moderate to severe pain.
all right, let me show you this, Randy. Can you see a blurred out screen here?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the footage. This is the edited footage that I have of. This can't be right. Let me. We'll try it. All right. So this is our very first session. It took place in a bar, and here I am showing you all the different crazy characters. So this would be kind of like, the intro, just kind of give you a fast, dirty of all of it. If this is the one that I'm thinking of, I sure hope it is. No, this isn't it. Let me see. Let me try this. Apologies. I don't know what the hell I'm doing today. Here we go. So I think this was the edited version. So yeah, this is a reveal of showing the bar. And then this is a little something where I can just, talk about blah 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 blah. You gotta Murloc it up. All right. Yeah, and so then I start to go through here, and that's where they started out, and you start to describe some of the things and who some of the different characters are and the factions. There's the bouncer. There's some goblins over here playing. You got the dance floor over there. Donatello's cutting a rug. It was his first appearance. And then this is the outside of the bar once they get outside of it. And so it's mostly, these tiles, but, with a little bit of created stuff on top of it. Homemade tree using twist wire. For this adventure, I wanted to try something different. I had purchased some of these WizKid wardlings. Yeah, well, you don't need to hear me talk. Nobody needs to hear that. And these are those wardlings that we've been using in our session. I told you that come with the pets. So this is our party and their pets. And then I think I have this scripted, and like I said, I'm so mad at I recorded all the audio for this, and I was like, Argh.
I love those wardling characters. It's so cool that they come with pets.
Yeah, and they've been increasing them too. So it was like they started out with like 5 or 6, and yeah, I'm a huge fan. And two, it's like if only one person has a pet, it gets annoying, I think, because then it's like, well, this person's like got 2 turns or something, or they feel handicapped because their pet can't do, what they want the pet to be able to do. It's like if everybody has a pet, then And the way that we handle it is that basically, instead of having a bonus action, so like with D&D, normally you have like an action, a move, and a bonus action, that you have a pet, and between you and your pet, you can do 3 things. So somebody can move and act, and somebody can move or act, essentially. Does that make sense? So like if you, as you know, I'm a warrior, I move and I attack, then my pet has just 1 action left that they could move or attack. If I don't move and I only attack, then my pet could also move and attack. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so this is our bar. Right, it's funny how different everything is when you don't have any sound. There's Thorg. He's a prominent NPC in the storyline. And so they found Thorg in the back room and had to make a decision whether they wanted to free him or not. And that was actually a cook, but he was deaf, so he couldn't hear him and he could only see him. And so like the dog started barking, but he didn't know because he was actually deaf. He was also funky fresh and fat with a PH. He's pretty hot and tempting. So here I go through kind of recreating their journey. So that guy, the redhead, that guy's name was Shank, and he had a tattoo that told him that he was I'm going to use a word mess, but I mean the F word when I say that. So he had a tattoo that said he was unmesswittable, and he's like kept saying the tattoo tells you everything you need to know. And so he got locked into this bar. He was a bounty hunter, and he'd found these kids who had just recently come together because of a shared dream that they were having, and he had caught them. This world isn't cool to people with magic abilities, and so these kids were being hunted because of their potential magic abilities. And so, but he couldn't turn them in because it was too late. So they did kind of like a British style English lock-in, where the bar actually locks you in until daytime. And because that's how they would handle, I guess some of the English bars, that's how they handle getting around closing time. That if you actually close the bar and you stay there, then they can still serve you drinks. So they were locked in.
Nice.
And since they were locked in, he didn't care. After he had a few drinks, he kind of let them roam around the bar. And so they knew that they had their magic abilities were suppressed because of a thing they had around their necks. And they knew that the key was that they knew that what they needed was in the back room, but there was a key to get to the back room. And so they had to talk to different people to figure out who had the key. Man, this needs more edit work than I thought it did. But at least the pieces are pretty much in place. And then I'll do transitions and tighten it up and slow it down. So hopefully it's less vomit inducing. Yeah, and so then they ended up talking to Thorg in the background, and he ended up busting a hole through here. And there's the party girl that got on the bar. She kept going, woo! Because, that happens in real life. So yeah, you got Shank there. You got there's the bartender. He got a rowdy goblin on his shoulder that he was trying to take care of. But what was funny was that we had a character, Dart, and she got her name from the very first episode. She's like, I don't know, I don't have a name, and she started playing a drinking game with these goblins, and it's this like dartboard, and when you threw it, you had to keep throwing and get a bullseye. And if you didn't get a bullseye, you had to drink and do it again. And when you do get a bullseye, flame shoots out. And so you have to dodge it. So hopefully you haven't had too many shots before that. And she aced it. And the goblins fell in love with her instantly. And they picked her up and took her to the dance floor. And it was like, Dart, 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 Dart. And so that ended up becoming her name, was Dart. So it was pretty cool. Yep. So now back in the lower corner there, there was actually something. There was a, and you'll appreciate this, I think. So right there. One second. Right there. So in this room, they never ended up going into, but this was the manager's back room, and so it was this guy that was dressed up like a king. He had a crown on his head, and he kept doing coke back there or something, this world's version of it, and and he was gonna
Pixie
potentially.
dust. He kept snorting pixie dust.
Yeah, pixie dust. Thank you. Yeah, he was all high up on the pixie dust, and he potentially could have came out and it's like, I'm the king, but that never happened. But one thing is with this, I the whole way that we kind of handled this. Let me see if I can get a good shot here where we're kind of zoomed out. Boop, 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 boop. Was instead of like having something that was very linear, it was like, I've been working on kind of doing this with all the things. It's just, you're just seeding it, right? Instead of like, it's a linear storyline, or even like it goes here, they could do this or do this. It was a bar full of crazy people here. So it's like, here you got, and it was like, well, who are the people in a bar? And I was like, oh, well, I can figure this out. So you've got goblins and halflings that are over here playing the drinking game. You had some orcs and some Supernal Regency people that were over here by the fire. Military fights are always likely to break out, if so that was a possibility. You had people over here on the dance floor, including Donatello, who was just a funny throw-in, who has now become actually an important piece to our story. And he is a let's see. And somebody asked him if he was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and he said no. He was a middle-aged kung fu. Let's see. He was a he was a middle-aged kung fu something tortoise. So not to be confused with the Teenage Mutant Ninja. Yeah, I can't remember what his. He was not an. Oh no, he was a middle-aged specially abled kung fu tortoise is what he was. And then we had the party girl over here, and then we've got this girl here who is the party girl's friend, and she keeps trying to mac on this guy here, but this guy's actually gay, so he really wasn't interested in her. And then here's the lurker over here, who's this keeps gawking at the party girl. We've got this guy here, right here with the hat and the farmer gear. His name was John, and there was the barmaid Laura over here, and he just kept saying, this guy just kept saying surly stuff to people, and then we had the bartender.
Was there somebody that got his penis out?
No, that did not happen in this one. Randy, that stuff doesn't really happen. That nobody could believe that.
It doesn't happen in stories. It only happens in real life.
Yeah, that would be too fantastical to get people to try to believe. So yeah, there's the. Shots. Let me see if I can. The bartender. I want you to get a shot of the bartender. Yeah, there's that. There's the lurker. Oh. Yeah, so that's Jared, the bartender Jared. And yeah, this was reminiscent of some of these characters may or may not be inspired by real life people that we knew. But the whole idea of, seeding this and then just seeing what happened worked really wonderfully. It worked way better than, trying to make a linear sort of thing. And so yeah, so they did all that. They meet Thorg. They decide to help him. He's in the back room, but he's got the same magic collar thing on, and they decide to let him out. And so he ends up busting down the door, and he goes outside, and they decide to follow along. So with that being the case, then this was the outside. So if we look here, they basically, over in here was the bar. And so right here is the door to the outside. And this whole area was basically fenced in. And let me see here. I don't have chat up, so apologies. How long did it take to prepare everything? Usually, it's the day before. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, because part of it is just the assembling the pieces, and then part of it is the kind of the mental prep work. So, but simple, I can do this in a day, the day before. So this is, I don't know, it might have been 4 hours of work, maybe more, but I'm getting better. But like the board that I have on the table, I did that. I think I put those two boards together in 4 hours, which I impressed myself actually with. But and I'm lucky Carrie's afforded me some space upstairs where I can have a lot of this stuff handy, so that helps a ton, not lugging it up from like say downstairs and things, and then trying to have things where, and again it's like kind of like, well, let me get a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and just start throwing some of the stuff together. So yeah, so this was they were in the inside of the bar, and this was the door. So he smashes that out, but around this is like supposed to be like it's all walled in, and there's guards that are kind of patrolling it. And then there was this door out here, but there was a couple of guards that were asleep. And some notes of interest is you got this blood fountain here, and there was this wall with some vines. Over here was this is like a hangman's area, right? So with the noose and all that. And then it had a fire here. That's homemade fire pit that actually lights. There was a junkyard over here. Yeah. So that's the door. There's the blood fountain. The junkyard over here on the right. Yeah, it's the door out. Hand painted doors. Gimbal.
A stabilization rig for your camera.
Yeah, gimbal. And I don't think I even had. I think I was just actually literally holding the camera at this time. So yeah. But this was the very first. This was some of the very first video that I shot. A gimbal, I think, is what you're talking about. And they have different types.
Yeah.
And so here you can see too. So basically, because of the way that the walls were and stuff, this was only really one of the few paths that they had to access through. And there was I think, a guard sleeping here as well. And so that's what I'm explaining there. Now, what's really cool about these tiles that they have is you can see there that there's roofs, but then they have floors underneath them. So each one has a corresponding piece, so you could actually lift it up. And they didn't know that, and Shay was so mad because they didn't realize that until the end. She's like, I could have searched all these houses, and there was stuff in them. Can I go back? It's like, well, why did we know that? It's like, well, you didn't search, you didn't do this, And so there's Thorg, and he bust out the door. And he went running, and he said, if you want to team up with me later, he's like, meet me at the sewers. And so when they came out here, they knew that their pets had been taken. And over here was where their pets were. They were being held up here. And this is where Shank, the bounty hunter, was going to return them. And they remembered it because there was they remembered it was heavily lit when he had brought them in. They were a little disoriented. But so they were trying to make their way back to there to retrieve their pets. So they came here and they found a wanted board that mentioned the names of, it was a wanted poster, and it had their pictures, and it referred to them as Devil Kinder. And they took it up and they promptly ripped it up, that poster. They weren't having none of that. The druid type character ended up, I think, had a natural 20 roll on the dog, the junkyard dog. So there's no conflict there. And then also you'll notice that there's a ladder here. And this spawned a love affair. So now every board that I do has a ladder on it because Shay loves ladders. And so there's almost always I think every board that we've had since then has at least one ladder, physical ladder that can be used. And I learned something that's a valuable lesson I learned as a DM as well, that having stuff like that is fun and helpful. Okay, and so then also you could see there that some goblins had busted out. The Gerbies. And ladder. So they had got the ladder and started getting onto the roofs because there was a sleeping guard over here. And so they decided, well, because of her drinking prowess and dart playing prowess, one of the goblins decided that he wanted to help her. And so he started to follow her, but he was, inebriated and overexcited, and he wasn't necessarily being quiet. So they're trying to go from rooftop to rooftop, whereas Shasta and Furion, I think, had made some amazing stealth rolls. So they were able to kind of get ahead of her. So she was trying to bring this goblin with her, going roof to roof using the ladder. And at one point, they're over here, and she's trying to cross the ladder, or the goblin's trying to cross, and they had a critical fail. So yeah, so they're coming here, and the goblin was going over, and I think he had a critical fail, or he failed to roll, and then they're just hanging there up top, and she's doing persuasion rolls to try to convince the goblin to not say anything. And so he's hanging, and he just thinks it's fun and it's a game, and so he's hanging on the ladder and saying, okay, yeah, because she made some really good success rolls on her persuasion. And so that was a pretty fun moment in there. And so then they come through there, and they end up making their way to the place where the pets were, and they were trying to figure out how to actually get in. So I think the goblin was trying to get in through the window, and he couldn't do it. And I think Shasti, yeah, they are. And none of them had played D&D before. And so we were really using a really stripped down rule set to try to take out a lot of the heavy lifting. And they do things that you wouldn't, like the first thing they do is they split the party. And I love that. Tactically, it's not a great idea, but it makes for fun stories. And they are a lot of fun. And we have the most fun when they fail rolls. And that's another thing that I've learned here recently. It's like failed rolls equals better story. And that's what we're really trying to do more. It's like, when Randy, when a lot of our playing, as much as I love turn-based tactical games, and I do love that, dungeon crawls and things like that, I wanted more story out of it. And so I found that we would always just do things to serve the strategy and not the story, and not serving the characters. And so, it's what would your character do? Now, I don't care what you want to do. What would your character do? And so the goblin tried to get in through here. Shasta, I think, ended up busting the door down here, and then they ended up. There were some other people that were chasing after them, I think, at this point, including Shank, the bounty hunter. And he was coming after them, and they ended up setting up, I think, a trap in the doorway that he got caught up in. And it was Vaughn, the bouncer. So yeah, Shank ends up getting caught in this trap, and there was a critical roll. It was either his fail or their success that caused him to totally get befuddled by the trap. And so they had him down on the ground, prone, and then I know that they wanted to do something to him, and the only thing that they had, I think, at that point, I think that they had foraged in the junkyard a rusty spike, and they administered it in a very uncomfortable space. and I don't mean the back of a Volkswagen. And they also proceeded to remove his tattoo that said unmuswittable. And I think he broke it down and cries, and he's like, I am muswittable. I am muswittable. And that ended up becoming something that it's like it gives them advantage, I think, on intimidation rolls now, because they have this tattoo that they flayed from the bounty hunter.
That's like a scene from I forget which book it was, but from the Alvin Maker series.
It doesn't surprise
the guy
me.
with the tattoos.
Man, I've forgotten about that. Yeah. Was he the guy that on the riverboat, or am I thinking of somebody else? Was he like the big burly guy that was on the riverboat?
He was at the river, yeah.
Okay.
Big burly dude.
Yeah, but he was good natured though.
Nope, because he was. I think at the beginning, he was a bit of a bully.
Okay.
Because he was invulnerable.
Okay.
Because of his tattoos that his mom.
But didn't he befriend Alvin? I thought, or whoever that was at that point.
Eventually, Alvin kind of put him in his place, I think, and then he.
Oh, then he kind of came along.
Friends after that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's been a long time, but I thought it was that at the point it was Alvin and it was Maggie or whatever the one that was the seer that he ended up falling in love with.
The torch.
Yeah, the torch. Yeah. And I thought it was the two of them, and that he ended up traveling with them. But so this piece here, this was where the sewers were, and this was one of my new pieces from Dwarven Forge that lit up. So I just had to figure out a place that I could put that in. And so it actually revealed they had to do something, and it ended up revealing the sewer.
Nice.
So yeah, homemade.
The lights and the shadows are playing on that piece. Cool.
Yeah, man, some of these look so much better now that I've actually painted some of these up, because that's just the default black, shiny, but paint, and then, not even painting the LEDs. I have a couple of them that are the torches that I've actually painted the torches on and stuff. So that's showing you. Oh, on the backside too of those, it'll be daytime or nighttime. So that's how, and then I just use some tape to tape them down and tape them together. And it was, I bought that, I think, on a Kickstarter. I was like, man, this is a kind of a neat way to do a city that you could have a lot going on, right? And so this is just showing you the components. Cool. So these were the components that I added to the table. So you have a handful of Dwarven Forge. That's a fountain that I actually had put some red paint and some 2-part epoxy into to make it the blood effect. There's some tiles that we made there out of foam. There's some stairs that we made. There, a Dwarven Forge, a tree, some of our foliage, some doors. I can't remember where those doors came from, but I painted those up. And there's those actually that plastic pieces, that's where they came on, and I took them and painted them up so that I made them into like spike traps. Those are some homemade vines, and these were actually bought and painted, but I totally repainted these. And I think that was, and then, and those were also painted. And there was the fireplace, and it's got a tea light in there so you can light up. Some stones, those are great. So yeah, just showing off some of the custom pieces. And I think this is then, just kind of the final, this would be for, the final talk through of blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so this was that was the first session was those two. So now let me see here if I put it up. Was there anything goofy at the end? Usually we put something goofy at the end. Oh, I just have some beef footage, I think.
That beautiful bee footage.
And I painted those. It was just black and shiny, but that was a little dry painting. So that's it's rough. We took that, that was July of last year. Was our first session.
Nice.
Yeah, it's Tater mentions that it's very hard to separate the character from the player and not metagame what you would do with your knowledge, but what your character would do in game. I agree, and that's it's I feel like it's the DM's job to help with that. So it's like one of the things I asked all the players about. It's like, how is your character different from you? And tell me one thing in which your character you feel his personality or something about them where it really differs from you, and um, and then when they would say, well, I would do this, and I'm like, that's your character would do this. Does your character have any experience done this in the past? Has your character done this? And try to ask some things like that, and it helps. But yeah, because it can be very hard to not do that. And some metagaming you have to do. And one of the things too is that a kind of a storytelling device that we've done. Let me go ahead and put some our slideshow back up. Is they can all communicate mentally with each other because they have the shared link, and so it's like that way you don't have to get into some of these metagaming questions. Would you know this? Would you not know this? And basically the way that I do it is if you can see something on the board, then he has a big personality, is how Taters said was the difference. Nice. Let me see here. Just the tip, baby. Just the tip. Is if you can see it, if I want to obscure it, I'll obscure it. Fog of war. I'll put these kerchiefs over top of stuff if it's something that you can't see. But if you can see it on the board, you can see it. Now, when you get to it, it might change a little bit because you don't fully perceive things, or things are happening. So it just because it was like, well, this guy was over here, but now he's over here, and it's like, well, now that you're in the room, you have a better feel for it. So that's how we try to deal with some of that stuff, because I just love having a very visual, rich playing field, and I want them to get as much knowledge as they can by visually observing it. So you try not to say, well, this isn't, as you see it here, isn't exactly how you see it, but some places you have to do that. But you try to, it's like ladder. You see that ladder? You can get that ladder. That ladder can be used. That's a thing to be used. It's a thing to be engaged with. So it's not, I try not to make things. It's like, well, no, that's just there for fluff. It's just visual fluff. If it's there, it's there. So. And yeah, I agree. I really think Runehammer, aka Drunkens and Dragons, aka Brandish Gilhelm, who I personally refer to as the ODB of the D&D community, because he's got more names. Hanker Inferno. He's got another moniker. I think his real name is Brandish Gilhelm. At least that's what his novels are published under. And if that's his real name and he goes by something else, I'm so mad, because that's such a great name to begin with. So I don't know whether that's his real name or not, but he talks about. It doesn't
sound like a real name.
It doesn't.
It
does
like
not.
A cool name. It doesn't.
Yeah,
like
agreed. Yeah, and it's like brandish. It's like brandish a weapon. So, but yeah, so he's always seems like he's changed his name. So I think I refer to him as ODB, because ODB was Old Dirty Bastard, ODB, Dirt Dog, Big Baby Jesus, which is now the nickname of my German Shepherd, is Big Baby Jesus. But Dirt McGirt, Dirt Dog, yeah, so he's got more nicknames than ODB. But he talks about D&D in ways that have immensely shaped how I play, and it just encourages me. And D&D is, the rule book says, you do as you will. Kind of takes the satanic Bibles, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. You do what you do, and that's cool. That's D&D. You don't have to do all these rules. You don't have to play it this way. So nerd lawyers, put your nerd lawyer books away. You don't have to be like that. And rule lawyers, put them rules away. And
if you're using the full thing, it's so exhaustive, especially new players have no chance of being aware of all of the stuff. Like if you take into account how many things you can carry, encumbrance, your size, all that different stuff.
And if you want to do that, like I've never played D&D where we cared about rations, and did you eat and did you drink, and encumbrance. Encumbrance is
how long your spells actually last for a lot of that stuff. It can be really confusing keeping track of all that different stuff.
Hey, welcome,
Hey,
Peter
Peter.
Steves. Hey. Well, you know what? If you are with a set of fellow nerd lawyers, and that's what gives you guys a joy, then have at it. You know, and that's the thing is, you know, I've never used encumbrance, we've never used rations, but I can see where, you know, people would play that and be totally fine with it. And if that's your deal, man, right on. And that's what I love about D&D. Well, that's cool too. But it's you know, Runehammer, he talks about making it light, and so he has his own variation of D&D that's called ICRPG, which stands for Index Card RPG. But a lot of it just takes the heavy lifting out. One of the things is, you know, we have a big dice that's on the table, and there should have been a shot here somewhere for that. Let me see here. Somewhere, yeah, back here you can see this big die here, and I think we may have a shot there at the very end of it as well. Oh, I've got the screenshot. Yep, thank you, Randy, appreciate that. Let me see here. But there is a dice, you know, or a number, and that's what your rolls are. So it's not like, well, to do this you would need to have this, to do this. Yeah, it's back here. And so it's always, you know, I think for this one it was 12. And so whatever you roll, whatever your pluses are, there is there's a that's what you need to hit, and it's make it or exceed it, you know. So it's same thing with like armor class. If you hit the armor class, it's a hit. And so that's the only thing that potentially could be different. But like if you're trying to climb something, or you're trying to persuade somebody, any of those things that you're doing, you just have to make whatever the room difficulty is. And that's the way he does it. It's the room difficulty. And man, that really is something that sticks with new people. Thanks, Tater, for sharing that information about the D&D video games. I appreciate that. And that makes it real. It's like players can grasp that so easily, you know, and they're like, they come in and they'll say, what's the room difficulty? You know, it's so encapsulated in their mind about it. And then it's a real easy thing to grasp. And then basically you just have advantage or disadvantage. And advantage means you roll 2d20s and you take the highest, or if you have disadvantage, you roll 2d20s and you take the lowest. And that's between those, it's just some simple mechanics that take care of a lot of the stuff. The other thing that, you know, as a longtime player of D&D, and as a new DM, is that I really struggle with, Randy, is the spells. Like the spells, I think, are horrible, and that there's a reason why D&D has been relegated to the nerd demographic, and I speak as a person who affiliates as said nerd. Is that you had to be able to do it? You had to have a DM that was so technically minded that could handle all that information. And it's like when I'm trying to, you know, design a board, you have to take into some consideration what skills your players have, right? Because if you have some sort of teleport spell that just teleports you to the end of the maze, then all right, well that was we're done with tonight's session, I guess, you know, because I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
Or in particular, it's like it may not be a single spell, but how two spells may work together. And it's just a real challenge to try to understand all those spells. And then the players, they're like, now how does this work? How do what is this? And it's like I can't, you know, make all of the stuff for the D&D board, set it up, try to have a new original adventure for us, and play your characters for you, you know. It's like that's just too much.
You are good. You are really good at kind of absorbing. Once you play a character, you are good at remembering what your abilities and stuff are. But you haven't played any spellcasters. Really. You usually play more of a physical physical character.
Yeah, the last time we were playing, I was playing a monk, and then I think I shortly played a rogue, and it was for that reason that even as a player, that having all those spells at your disposal and trying to remember what they can do, and always pulling out the book and things like that, and it's just like it's just really tedious. So we tried to what I tell the players is that I want to give you fewer options that are more open-ended, right? I want to give you access to a few things that you can do a lot of things with, right? And you kind of saw, I think, and experienced the opposite of that, and we really try to not do this. Both of us have experienced playing D&D where you're told no, right, more often than feels nice. And so it's like, you had that. I remember some of the last sessions that we had, that your mage had the ability of like some telekinesis, right? And then you could throw a boulder, or you could throw 4 chairs, or you could throw 10 ball bearings, and you're right. And there was always
it was an animation. It was an animation spell. So.
Sure, you can. Yep. You can do whatever you want. Now, if you critically fail your bowel constitution roll, then your fart may become a shart. So there's always that danger. Yeah, that's all good. It's all good in the hoodie hood. So yeah, we're trying to do that with their magic abilities. They're few and far between, but you try to make them so that they're a little bit more open-ended, where they can do stuff. And there's a lot of times where they'll be like, "Can I do this?" And I'm like, "Sure, if you can make the roll, let's do that." And then another thing that Runehammer, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this, is the problem of D&D when it escalates and it gets larger. Let me turn back on our slideshow here. Yeah, I think that's called Mage Hand, right? That's the magic butt wiper. Yeah, absolutely. Is that so another thing that he does? Oh, and this is I got this from playing with DM Scotty at that Gen Con festival, where it was all brand new players. He was using the same thing with like the room difficulty that he got from ICRPG, but he did this thing where you want to keep hit points low, because as hit points get larger when you level, then you have to have abilities that are larger, but because of the random nature of things, it makes things so wildly unpredictable to where you just can't do anything, or you can just like one hit. And from that, it gets really hard for the DM to try to craft something that's fun and challenging for everybody. And so you'll see a lot of people that kind of prefer, keeping it, level 3 to level 7, might be kind of an optimal. Yeah, chat's making me laugh. And so, but keeping hit points low, though, it's like, how do you do that? Peter Steves, thanks for the follow. We appreciate that. Welcome to the Q Continuum. Much obliged. I'm glad that your character only having one hole didn't deter you from the follow. So, the way that he negated this was by using fail dice. So anytime you fail a roll, and it could be a perception roll, it could be an attack roll. The way that he handles it was that you would get a dice, a 6-sided dice, and you could use that dice in 2 ways. In a future previous fail, you can roll that dice and add that to the total. Or you can use it to soak damage. So you can use it to heal, basically. And so by doing that, it allows you to, have things be difficult, but when players really need to heroically do that stuff, you'll see the player, and we allow the players to swap those dice. So if you have failed dice, you can let other players use it, because I find that really helps create a sense of camaraderie with the group, rather than these are mine and these are yours, and I'm, and everybody, I love it. That's the another thing I really love about the group is that they're always like, oh, here, I got this. No, you can use this here. No, here, do that. And by doing that, it allows you to keep the hit points low, but yeah, allows people that when they really need to, that they can, they can make that thing work, but it still is a cost because they've lost, the ability to heal or the ability to do other things. So. Yeah. What do they call it? A cochlea or something like that? Isn't that a chicken? Chicken has the one hole. But yeah, I have had
cloaca. Sorry, I just.
Yeah, thank you, Randy. Well, I don't know what I said. Did I say coked out manager?
I'm not sure. Yeah, you said coked out.
That's a callback to earlier. But yeah, it's been real good times. And actually, I have had. I don't think I've ever had a player fling their own feces, but we have had monkeys that would fling poo. So there was
oh yeah, the old monkey attack.
The old monkey poo flingers. So yeah, we have had that. We have had that happen. So that's the beauty of D&D is the limit is your imagination. Now the problem can be that it's also your imagination. So it's funny you're seeing. Speaking of DM Scotty for his patrons is doing some remote sessions, and I got into his next session. So next 3 Saturdays I get to play remotely with DM Scotty. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. So there was another point, but then he's using D&D Beyond for your character. You get to start at level 3, and so you got to use D&D Beyond to go on and build up your character, and then they'll be using Roll20. So I'm super duper excited about that. I don't know. Can you? If a player said, "Can I fart out rainbows?" I would say one of two things. Has your character ever farted out rainbows previously? Is this something that your character previously has experience doing? And if so, then roll. And given the certain circumstances, it'd be like, what would be encouraging your character to fart? I don't think that's probably an ability that you have to fart on command, unless that there's some backstory that you can convince me to do that. But if you can, we want to try to say yes. I would love to prismatic spray. That's a thing. You're right, Randy. Thank you. Yeah, I have enchanted my my poo hole to fart rainbows. So yeah, that's and it's like depending on maybe what you've eaten, the way you've described your meals, you may have advantage or disadvantage.
Spray does normally, according to the manual, it does typically come from the hands, but poetic license.
You can put your hands anywhere, Randy. Hands can go lots of places.
There you
go. Good times. Randy, I cannot believe this. We are at the end of our 2 hours. That is silly. That went by super duper quick. How you doing? Are you a stickler for time right now, or?
Yeah, I need to.
You got
a good time for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be wrapping up. Peter Steves, we appreciate you hopping into the channel and giving us some interesting food for fodder, or fodder for food. I don't know, given the nature of the conversation. But we appreciate you hopping on. We appreciate the follow and for engaging in the chat. And Shadow, I appreciate you, brother, hopping on and giving me your voice. And Taylor, as always, thanks for being on. And I appreciate you guys working with Peter to give him some information about D&D. The nature of these questions border on, I'm wondering if I'm getting spoofed here, but regardless, it's been an enjoyable conversation nonetheless. I consider myself to be have a sense of humor that's like a 12-year-old. So, you know, I'm not against scatological humor, given the proper time and place. So, and I suppose that this probably is that. So, everybody, I appreciate again your time, your attention, your eyeballs, your ear holes, and remind everybody, as the doctor says, never cowardly, never cruel, never give up, and never give in. And I will talk to you guys. If nothing else, we will be streaming at noon tomorrow, as we do every weekday. So, Randy, do you have anything else? Any of the parting words for the people?
Yeah.
All right.
Kind to yourselves and one another.
Be kind. Yep. Keep
Love,
safe.
peace, and hair grease.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Randy, you know what you
Yep.
get when you cross a hippie with a ninja.
What's that?
Weren't you listening earlier? Or you just didn't want to step on the punchline?
Yeah, I was letting you have it.
You get peace and quiet.
Oh.
And what's funny is actually that's how I found out that the internet wasn't working today. This kind of ties back to the show thing, the Amazon Echo show. Was it said, "Hey, here's an example. Say, Alexa, tell me a ninja joke." And I was like, "Alexa, tell me a ninja joke." And it was like, cannot compute. And I was like, "Oh, what's up with the internet?" And I was like, "Oh, what's up with the internet?" So that's when we came down here. That's why I made it tell me. I finally got it took me 4 or 5 hours, but I finally got that ninja joke.
You should be able to have it play a cricket sound when it can't connect.
Yep.
So to speak, crickets chirping.
Yeah, that would be good. Well, and this is one of my new favorite sound, Randy's, that I added here is, and if you hit qubits, type qubits, it tells you how many qubits you have, and you can use the qubits to actually play some sound files. And one of those that I added was the sad clap. Hold on. There you go. That's the sad clap. But on that note, we will say goodbye and have a good day, and we will talk to everybody soon. Peace. And put it on the end music. Bow, chicka, bow, bow. Bow, chicka, bow, bow.